Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Tami Azka Rahmawati with student ID number 194010018, and I will be share and explain about mind map with the title Bad News Messages. The first part is communicating negative news strategically. Bad things happen in all businesses, such as products fail to perform as expected, goods are not delivered, service is poor, billing gets mixed up, and customers are misunderstood. So this part divided into one point. There is setting goals in communicating negative news. Sending bad news is not the easiest communication task, and the most important of them are summarized, such as explain clearly and completely, convey empathy and sensitivity, project a professional image, be fair, and the last is maintain friendly relation. The second part is examining bad news strategies. Unfavorable news in business doesn't always fall into neat categories. To successfully convey bad news, readers must carefully consider the audience, purpose, and context. In this part, divided into 3 points. The first point is using the direct strategy to convey negative news. The direct strategy may be more effective in situations such as when the bad news is not damaging, when the receiver may overlook the bad news, when the organization or receiver prefers directness, and the last is when firmness is necessary. Second point is using the indirect strategy to convey negative news. And here are typical instances in which the indirect strategy works well, such as when the bad news is personally upsetting, when the bad news will provoke a hostile reaction, when the bad news threatens the customer relationship, and the last is when the bad news is unexpected. And comparing the direct and indirect strategies for bad news messages is indirect strategy. There are the sequence is bad news, reasons, and pleasant clause. Meanwhile, in indirect strategy, there are buffer, reason, bad news, and pleasant clause. And the last point is keeping the indirect strategy ethical. If you worry that the indirect strategy is unethical or manipulative because the writer deliberately delays the main idea, so consider the alternative. Unethical communicators intend to deceive. Although the indirect strategy provides a setting in which to announce negative news, it should not be used to avoid or mispresent the truth. For example, the internet is rife with bogus offers such as skincare products promising to deliver the fountain of youth. The third part is composing effective bad news messages. No one is happy to receive negative news, but you can reduce bad feelings by structuring your messages sensitively. And for delivering bad news sensitively, there are the sequence, such as buffer. There are best news, compliment, appreciation, agreement, facts, understanding, and apology. And next is reasons. There are cautious explanation, reader or other benefits, company policy explanation, positive words, and last is evidence that matter was considered fairly and seriously. Next is bad news. There are embedded placement, passive voice, implied refusal, compromise, and alternative. And last is closing. There are forward look, information about alternative, good wishes, freebies, resale, and last is sales promotion. In this part, divided into 6 points. The first point is opening indirect messages with a buffer. They begin with a neutral but meaningful statement that makes the reader continue reading, and the buffer should be relevant and concise and provide a natural transition to the explanation that follows. And for example, there is best news. Start with the part of the messages that represent the best news, and then compliment, praise the receiver's accomplishments, organization, or efforts, but do so with honesty and sincerity. Next is appreciation. Express thanks for doing business, for sending something, for showing confidence in your organization, for voicing their feelings, or simply for providing feedback. Next is agreement. Make a relevant statement with which both you and the receiver can agree. And then facts. Provide the objective information that introduce the bad news. And the last is understanding. Show that you care about the reader. Second point is apologizing. An apology is defined as an admission of blameworthiness and regret for an undesirable event. The following pointers can help you apologize effectively in business messages, such as apologize promptly and sincerely, accept responsibility, and the last is use good judgment. Third point is showing empathy. Empathy means understanding our emotional impact on others and making change as a result. And here are the examples of ways to express empathy in written messages. First is in writing to an unhappy customer, such as we did not intentionally delay the shipment, and we sincerely regret the disappointment and frustration you must have suffered. Second is in laying of employees, such as it is with great regret that we must take this step. Rest assured that I will be more than happy to write letters to recommendation for anyone who asks. Third is in responding to a complaint, such as I am deeply saddened that our service failure disrupted your sale, and we will do everything in our power to respond to any future outages promptly. And the last is in showing genuine feelings, such as you have every right to be disappointed, and I'm truly sorry for that. The fourth point is presenting the reasons. Providing an explanation reduces feelings of ill will and improves the chance that readers will accept the bad news. And for that, we should explaining clearly, citing reader or other benefits if possible, explaining company policy, and choosing positive words. And last is showing fairness and serious intent. The fifth point is cushioning the bad news. And for that, we should do positioning the bad news strategically, using the passive voice, highlighting the positive, implying the refusal. And the last is suggesting a compromise or an alternative. The last point is closing pleasantly. After explaining the bad news sensitively, close the message with a pleasant statement that promotes goodwill. And the closing should be personalized and may include a forward look, alternative, good wishes, freebies, and the last is resale or sales promotion. The next part is reviewing typical requests and claims. When you must review typical requests, first think about how the receiver will react to your refusal and decide whether to use the direct or the indirect strategy. And so that in this part divided into 3 points. The first point is rejecting requests for favors, money, information, and action. Requests for favors, money, information, and action may come from charities, friends, or business partners. And however, resources are usually limited. Second point is dealing with disappointed customers in print and online. Most business professionals strive to control the damage and resolve such problems in the following manner, such as call or email the disappointed customer immediately or reply to the individual's online post within 24 hours, and describe the problem and apologize. Last is explain why the problem occurred and what they are doing to resolve it and how they will prevent it from happening again. And the last is promote goodwill by following up with a message that documents the phone call or acknowledges the online exchange of posts. And then we should responding by email and in hard copy. Written messages are important when personal contact is impossible, to establish a record of the incident, to formally confirm follow-up procedures, and last is to promote good relations. And then we should managing negative news online. Businesses can employ some of the following effective strategies to manage negative news on social media, such as recognize social media as an important feedback channel, verify the situation, become proactive, monitor comments, and the last is accept the inevitable. The third point is denying claims. Obviously, in denial messages, you will need to adopt the proper tone and don't blame customers even if they are at fault. And for example, email denying a claim, the context is for buffer there are combines agreement with resale, and then reasons explain price matching policy and how readers purchase is different from lower price model. And for implied refusal, there are without actually saying no, shows why readers' claim cannot be honored and builds readers' confidence in wisdom of purchase. And the last is positive closing. There are continuous resale looks forward to future business. And the last part is managing bad news within organizations. Origin's first approach and a tactful tone help preserve friendly relations with customers. Organizational bad news might involve declining profits, lost contracts, harmful lawsuits, public relations controversies, and policy changes. And so that in this part divided into 3 points. The first point is delivering bad news in person. Here are pointers on how to do so tactfully, professionally, and safely to delivering bad news in person, such as gather all information, prepare and rehearse, explain like past, present, and future, consider taking a partner, think about timing, and last is be patient with the reaction. The second point is reviewing workplace requests. Occasionally, managers must review requests from employees. In context reviewing an internal request, in the draft, there are announces the bad news too quickly and painfully, gives reason but includes a potentially dangerous statement about the shaky system, overemphasizes the refusal and apology, and the last is makes promises that might be difficult to keep. Meanwhile, in the revision, there are buffer, includes sincere praise, and transition uses that to move smoothly from buffer to reasons. And then reasons explains why refusal is necessary, and then bad news implies refusal, and then last is closing contains realistic alternative. The last point is announcing bad news to employees and the public. And for that, we should keeping communication open and honest, choosing the best communication channel, draft of internet post, and the last is revision of internet post. For example, of announcing bad news to employees, there is email and context in the draft. We have hit readers with bad news without any preparation. Offers no explanation for increase, sounds defensive and arbitrary, and last is fails to take credit for absorbing previous increases. Meanwhile, in the revision, begins with positive buffer, explain why costs are rising, reveals bad news clearly but embeds it in paragraph, and the last is ends positively by stressing the company's major share of the cost. And that's all from me. I hope that you can find something useful from this mind map and explanation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.